Hello, my friends. On today's episode, I have for the first time on the podcast Mike and Theresa, co founders of Reimagine in Massachusetts, longtime Unicorn Society members. And on this podcast, we share their story of over 30% year over year revenue growth and tripling their profit in the last year. And we go through all the things that they did to make that happen. They share some amazing best practices and tips that are immediately actionable for all of you. So if you want that incredible growth, we all do, this is a great episode for you. So keep on listening. Before we jump into today's episode, I have a quick question for you, my friends. Are you tired of juggling the endless spreadsheets and torn workout packets and trying to keep track of all your clients' progress in that kind of old-fashioned, papery spreadsheet kind of way? Well, it's time to level up your facility with Team Builder. Team Builder is the ultimate workout programming software designed just for you. We've been using it at Mark Fisher Fitness for years and recommending it to all of our Unicorn Society members who love it. You can create custom workout programs. You can track your clients' results in real time. You can even generate detailed performance reports with just a few clicks. Clients can fill out their own workout data by using tablets in the weight room or through their mobile app. So it's time to say goodbye to the paperwork and the spreadsheets and say hello to more quality time coaching. Head over to teambuilder.com and use our code BFU for an exclusive 30-day trial. That's Teambuilder, TEAMBUILDR, no E.com. Use the code BFU for a 30-day exclusive trial. Link in the show notes. Now let's get back to the episode. Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. I'm very excited to have two guests on today's podcast. It's a real party on the podcast today. It's Mike and Theresa for Reimagine. They're amazing gym owners, been in Unicorn Society for a bunch of years now. And this is your first time on the podcast. So welcome, friends.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, so glad to have you here. Mike or Theresa, one of you, if you want to just share a little about what is Reimagine, and who do you serve? How do you serve them? Just tell us a little about you.
All right. I'll dive in.
Do it.
Our tagline is that, so first I will say reimagine is a pun. We are reimagining the gym experience. Our tagline is that we're the gym for people who don't like the gym.
Yep.
Specifically, we are targeting, we're targeting the people who find themselves most consistently feeling either uncomfortable or simply unseen and unwelcome in mainstream fitness spaces. And we've done a lot of work on deconstructing what it is about mainstream fitness spaces that tends to make people uncomfortable. And the short version is we don't do that.
Yeah, unpack all the things that make you uncomfortable and avoid that list. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah. What else?
And we do small group personal training, which just recently became 6 people with one coach.
Yep.
And we do one-on-one personal training.
Love it. Love it. Anything you would add to that, Theresa?
I mean, just that we're really focused on making sure we get that message out there so that pretty much everyone who comes through the door really is like our client avatar, so we know how to talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And maybe that's where we can start the conversation because I think, one of the things you all have done so well the last few years. Let me just share a few stats, right? Just to brag about you for a minute, which is your gross revenues increased about 30% over the last year, which is amazing. And during that same time, you've also kind of 3x'd your net profit, right? Which is kind of fantastic, right? So you're able to grow by 30% at the same time, kind of triple the amount of profit the business is making. So you're not just growing for growth's sake, but you're actually growing really smart, right? And controlling your expenses as you grow, which is the hat trick we all wish we could do on a regular basis. And you've been doing it the last few years, right? And so that's really, one of the main reasons I want to have those podcasts. You can share some of the things you've been doing that have really, really been working. And you just started with the one that I think is maybe at the top of the list, which is you've been putting a lot of kind of marketing poles in the water, and you started to build this thing we were talking about before we started recording, which is this kind of this reputational flywheel. You've gotten some real momentum going in your community and in your market for people getting to know you. And one of the things that's really mattered there, and we'll talk about a lot of things that have mattered that have gotten that going, but you're really clear on who you serve. You're really clear on who out there in the market you are for and who you're not for. So as you go and do all the things we're going to talk about, like Google or Google Ads or events or any sort of grassroots marketing, you can be in the right places for the right people because you're really clear on who your gym is for. So can you just talk a little bit, what are all the things you've done over the last year or so, six to 12 months, that have helped build your reputation in your market? What are those things?
Every year, excuse me, ev- the I was going to say one of the things is the things we've done in the past 6 to 12 months are in some ways the same things we've been doing for the past several years.
Great.
Uh, at the risk of sounding like a little bit like a business for unicorns commercial, um, in the beginning we were trying all sorts of things, and it was in a conversation with you where you said, "Well, what's worked the best?"
Yeah.
And we were like, "Oh, well, this." And then you said, "Well, why don't you do more of that?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So for us, one of the main things in terms of getting more leads is we table at local community events.
Yep.
Uh, our client avatar is definitely going to be attracted to our like we have our Reimagine banner. We put a pride flag out. We wear tutus and fancy hats, and it is it for us serves as kind of a filter in a way because the people who are interested in walking up and going, "So you're a gym?"
Yep.
are the ones who are most likely going to resonate with the way we do the gym.
Yeah,
And
100%. People talk all the time about qualifying your leads. Well, showing an event in a costume like that absolutely qualifies your leads. So people are like, who are those weirdos? Then guess what? Not your people. People will walk up to you and be like, oh my gosh, where'd you get this tutu? They're your people, right? Right? So I think that's a great way of thinking about qualifying your leads. Yeah. Teresa, how do you pick the events? How do you decide which events your people will be at?
Yeah, I think because we have been doing, a bunch of events over the
Hmm.
years, and now that we've been in the community for, almost 5 years, we are invited to a lot of events, but I
Hmm.
Mike and I will often have conversations where like, I know this is a health fair, but like, is our client avatar going to be there?
Yep.
Um, and that will probably influence us in whether we go or not. But a, in the beginning, and even still now, we are really just asking ourselves, like, is our client avatar there? And then with the ones that we continue to go to every year, it's because they've just been so successful.
Yeah.
Um, and what, people see us every year. Even the mayor here in our city is like, "You're
Yep.
everywhere." Not
Yes.
everywhere. We're just at a lot of the places that are really important.
Yeah, I mean that's so impressive. I mean, I think all of every single listener should be wanting their mayor to be like, "Wow, I see you everywhere." Like that's goals, right? That's like marketing goals. Yeah. So when you're at these events, let's just keep talking about events because obviously it's an important one for you in your market. What do you do at these events? Obviously, you get people's attention with great banners, branding, costumes, etc. But what do you do to capture their information?
Well, we have obviously a sign up sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, we'll be doing a raffle
Mm,
for because most of the events are during the nicer weather since we're here in New England. And so it's like May through about October. So we're going to be raffling off one of our like low barrier offers or maybe
yep.
something special.
Yeah.
Oftentimes with the events, in lieu of like a tabling fee, they'll be like, "Oh, can you donate a thing?" So there
Sure.
could be two different things happening there. But um so we might do a raffle at the end of the event so that we're asking everyone like, "Hey, like fill in your name and information and you'll be entered into the raffle to win a free 14-day trial or 7-day trial." And other times we might be drawing a raffle every month or every
Mhm.
every hour to try to like uh, get
Yeah.
more leads in the door.
So smart. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think that just that lethal combination of being at the right events where your avatar is at, excuse me, having some fun way to attract them and say, if you like what we're serving at this table, you'll really love what we're serving at our gym, and find some really fun, creative, gamified way like raffles to engage them and get their contact information. I think that's such a great, valuable. A valuable tool to have in your back pocket. And it's clearly working for you all, right? People in your community know you way more than they did 5 years ago because you've been consistently showing up in all the places where they're showing up, right? Which is, the definition of great marketing, right? Is being in the place where the people are that you want to serve. And so good for you. Anything else contributing in the last few years to your growing reputation? Anything else you would point to?
I mean, this seems like an overly straightforward one, maybe, but I there is also a thing that keeps happening is people will also come in for a consult or sales conversation. And when we ask, hey, how did you hear about us? If it's not Google, there will be people who said, oh, I was in a Facebook group and I saw
Mm,
someone mentioned you in the comments, or I made a post and somebody recommended you.
yep,
And so at the risk of pointing out a really obvious thing, we have we've made sure that the client experience is consistently good.
sure.
So it keeps our retention uh, low, but it also means that we now have a bunch of ambassadors who are out there willing
Yeah,
to sing our
yeah.
praises on the Facebook.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I mean, that's really two things. You mentioned Google, which I think has been really important to you all to make sure that, you're really ranking well in Google. You have good reviews. There's, very active Google profile you have on there, which I think has been fantastic. And then obviously creating a great experience means people are willing to talk about you in the Facebook groups or whatever groups they're in these days. And so I
Mhm.
think those are really useful. And I think for our listeners, the takeaway is really, this is all stuff you've been doing now for a few years consistently, right? Showing up in people's places, in their Google searches, at their events, in the community, etc. And so I think it's the stuff this is the building momentum, right? It doesn't happen in a few days or weeks, right? Its momentum is built with repeated effort over time, and you've been all such great examples of that. So good for you.
Yeah,
Um,
if I may add one quick thing, I
please.
think aside from, getting Google reviews from, our clients, but also just as part of our social media strategy,
Hmm.
my one of the folks in charge of that for us posts every Friday on like Google for us, like
Yep.
some sort of update. So that's also kind of helping rank us as well to kind of be active there.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for adding that, Teresa. That's right. Google loves when your profile has new pictures, has new videos, and there's people clicking on it, engaging, then they're going to improve your rank as well. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, let's switch gears because I also want to talk about a few other things I know you all have been doing really well. You've built such a team. From when I first started working with you all, it was just the two of you. And now how many employees do you all have as of recording this today?
Uh, Seven.
Seven.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I mean, just a few years, you've really grown the business, grown the team so much. And one of the things when we were talking before this, you mentioned that's been really going well for you is that's been possible because you've really focused on creating the best possible hiring process. And you've continued to improve the hiring process after every single hire. You've been really diligent about going back and making improvements to make the hiring process even more ironclad, even though we all know there's no hiring process that guarantees the perfect hire every time. You all have been so good about going back and making improvements to make sure you're getting the right people in the right seats. Can you just talk a little bit about, you don't have to go through what your whole hiring process is, but just walk through what has the process been like for improving it, and what do you think some of the most important components are at this point?
Uh, Writing it down really makes a difference.
Right?
Uh,
That's the most important first step that most people just don't do is like write down what the process is. Yeah. Keep going.
the the last time we hired a coach, I can say that it was it it was so satisfying and gratifying to have a template of
Mm.
that I could just go like, oh, okay, so I'm just going to adjust the dates because this is when you got hired, put your name at the top. and here's our onboarding template. This is
Hmm.
the process that we'll go through. Uh, and because in the beginning it felt like, okay, we hired you, so what do we do now? Well,
Sure.
I'm making it up as I go. Having it mapped out, because the other thing about having it mapped out is that it really makes it clear when stuff comes up that I hadn't thought of yet. It becomes like, oh, that's so clear. Yes, that is a
Yeah.
thing that we need to add or amend to this process. And conveniently, I have a template document in which I can do that.
That's it, Mike. When you have a clear hiring and onboarding process that's written down, if you're following it, it's very clear to be like, oh, there's a gap. Or, oh, that's not written here, right? But if it's not written down, it's really hard to remember what you're supposed to be doing or not doing or what you did last time. So that really having a process well documented actually helps with a lot. What would you add to that, Teresa?
Yeah, I think, I would love to say that we've had nothing but great hires but
Nope.
we've had people come and go for various reasons, and I think in the places where people have no longer been employed with us, it we go back and reflect on, like, okay, what about our hiring process could potentially find a thing that would like
Hmm.
answer that question sooner, or
Yeah.
um yeah, like shine a light on that thing that we were
Yeah.
like, oh, so I think going back and refining it more to and be even more picky about, when people are answering questions, whether it's in a group interview or in a one-on-one interview, or even if they're coming in and doing uh the like sort of for lack of a better word, like stress test,
Yep.
to um see like, oh, like how can we refine this,
Hmm.
like if we see this or that, like are these red flags or are
Yeah.
they not?
You all have done such a beautiful job of that because when we're all first building a team for the first time for our businesses, we really don't know what we're looking for in employees, right? We have some ideas about some qualifications we maybe care about, some personality traits we might care about. We care about, we talk about character and competence as being the two buckets of things we're really looking for in hiring, but you really don't know what you're looking for yet. And so over time, you all have done such a great job at this, and I think listeners do more of this, is as you hire someone and it works out, ask yourself, okay, well, why is this working out? What is about this employee that really is great? And can we look for these qualities that we love about this person even more specifically next time we hire? Can we ask more
Mm-hmm.
specific questions about this character trait or this competency or this skill set? And the same thing when it doesn't work out. Right. And when this person leaves because they actually don't have the availability we're looking for, or maybe they actually are not interested in learning and continuing education the way we want them to be, or they have a personality mismatch with some of our clients, or if there's a value, whatever it is, get curious about that and then go back into your process. Like, wait, how do we look for someone who shares this value with us next time? How do we find someone who, excuse me, who has the real availability that we need? What questions do we ask to get to that? Right. And you all have done that so well. Something you want to add to that, Mike?
Well, I guess I wanted to say two things. Everything you just said,
Yeah.
uh, plus one,
Great.
or like button. Um, I was going to say I I have a bit of an avatar in my head for a coach now
Sure.
as well because of that process.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, we all are going to have it. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning, there's no foolproof, ironclad process for hiring. We're going to make what we call hiring mistakes, right? Which is just, oh, we thought this person was right and they're just not for some reason. And if we can learn from that, great, then we can go and improve and change our process to make sure we're less likely in the future to hire someone who has that gap, whether it's character or competence. And if you keep doing that, both for the good hires in quotes and the bad hires in quotes, right, then your process will get better and better over time about being really picky about who is the right fit for this place, which requires you to go slow and be meticulous in some cases. Yeah, and that we don't have that luxury. Sometimes we need someone to start tomorrow, right? And if we don't have a bench of people waiting, we kind of have to make some sacrifices, right? But when we do have the luxury of going slow and finding the perfect person for this seat, having a process written down makes all the difference. Anything else on this topic that's really mattered to you, Teresa?
Yeah, I mean, I think really drilling down into like our questions that we ask in interviews, again, whether it's a group interview or
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one, is really about our values as a company.
Yeah.
Like, how aligned are they on those? Because ultimately, those are that's what's driving Reimagine. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, if it's not quite a match, then it's like, I don't, this
Yeah.
person is nice, but I don't know if they're going to fit.
Yeah, 100%. If you don't have that foundation of we have a similar worldview, maybe not identical, but similar or compatible worldview, we value the same things in this work, then you can work with a lot of people, right? There's a lot you can build on top of that shared value set. And I think, and more, the longer you all do this, the longer I've been doing this, I'm more and more clear about the kinds of character and competence required for each role, and you get more and more picky and your process gets better and better, hopefully, and y'all are just really great examples of that. So yeah, thank you. Anything else before I switch gears? I think that's covers that topic, or anything else you want to add?
I'm going to plus one again. The A thing that has been helpful, I have multiple times felt like, oh, we need someone to start tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and well, in part because we simply haven't had a person that we can go like, oh, great, you can start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Uh, it's forced us to take our time with things, and
Yep.
for all of my experience anyway has been like there's that immediate like, oh, I wish we could get someone now. But for
Mm-hmm.
all of it, every time we've taken our time with it, it's paid off really, really well. So I'm
Hmm.
Yeah, I
inclined to
agree.
take
I
my
agree.
time.
I think there's a real strong correlation between the people that you hire fast and the people you hire slow, meaning being that like the people you hire fast are more likely to be a mistake, right? And be a bad fit. And the people you hire slow are more likely to be a good fit. You just have more time to get to know them. You spend more time together during a slower process to really get to know each other, which really matters. So yeah, I think it's so smart when you can go slow. You got go slow to hire. Yeah. All right. Well, the third thing I wanted to cover, and this has been a big one for you all. One thing that's really aided in your growth and in your profitability, I imagine, is you've really jumped through a lot of hoops over the last year to grow your capacity to get to kind of a 6-on-1 small group personal training. So can you just talk a little bit about the journey? What were you doing before, and what hoops do you have to jump through to get to the place now where you're really maximizing your space the best way possible? So someone just walk me through that story.
I can do that.
Go for it.
uh, so when we first opened, our imagined format was a 4-on-1 small group training,
Yep.
but we opened in August of 2020. So for space considerations, that became 3-on-1.
Yep.
And at the time, it was very much, it just was like three intimate one-on-one personal training sessions that just happened to have one coach, and they all were happening at once. Then as Pat, then we got introduced to the idea of measuring utilization, and
Yep.
that's when we realized, oh, we have to go to 4. Um, and It was sometime in the last year or 2 years now, because what is time? We shifted away from like very into like your program is totally different from this person's to a
Yep.
more templated version of things where there's still room for people to have individual customizations. Um, and then just in February of this year, we switched to 6-on-1 because we spent the better part of the last 6 months, I think, with our utilization was flirting with 90-95% most weeks.
Yep.
And uh, you can only hear members saying, like, I can't get into thoughts. I can't find
Mm-hmm.
places to book. Uh, to facilitate the change, there's perhaps room for a separate conversation about how great Profit First is as a
Sure.
system, because
Sure.
we used our equipment savings fund to facilitate a little bit of a renovation. So we have a more open floor plan for equipment now. And I think the biggest thing that I wanted to share was that uh, we put a lot of thought into the way that our sessions were running before we moved to 6-on-1 because we were very concerned about maintaining the quality of the experience with two more people.
Yep.
Um, for our schedule, going 6-on-1 to from 4-on-1 almost doubled our capacity. It's probably more like 80% or something if you do the math, but it was uh, a significant change. But we had to look very closely at all of the places in our format, our typical flow where bottlenecks happened, and we made
Mm-hmm.
some changes to basically specifically address those things. Um, and I think my big summary on that would be like for all of the things that we were changing that meant, oh, this is going to be change for people. Um, this for us has gone particularly well in that I don't think anyone has complained.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you add to that, Teresa?
Well, yeah, I think
Mm.
also uh, in preparation to alleviating, any discomfort from the staff and even
Mm-hmm.
the members, right? So we let everyone know in advance, like by like a month or so, that we were going to be doing this change. And so not only did we have a couple of sessions for the staff, just with the staff to practice, how is it to suddenly
Yep.
coach six people on one? And then, but also after we did that a few times with the staff, we invited members in a couple different times to have the staff coach them. So
Yep.
it gave people like, I remember talking to some of the members and being like, well, what is that like? But I'm like, well, we're going to send out a volunteer list. So if you can get on any of those days or times that we're going to volunteer, that will help you
Mm-hmm.
understand what this process is going to look like, and
Yep.
then give you an idea, alleviate any anxiety. Change is hard, right? So I think having those practices for both the staff and even some of the members who, might be a little bit more resistant to changing things up. I mean, who isn't? But
Mm-hmm.
what was helpful. And as Mike was saying, like alleviating some of those bottlenecks, I think were really being for us was um, creating, especially in the beginning, like leading the warm up as opposed to sort of everyone knows what the warm up is and they do it. And now we're just like leading it and
Yep.
having like a timed dynamic warm up really kind of cinches in the time a little bit more, which
Yeah.
is what we wanted.
I mean, small tweaks like that makes such a huge difference to the flow of the room and the flow of the experience. But yeah, I just want to pause and be like, y'all are crushing it so hard, right? When people ask me, I study this because I'm such a nerd, but people ask me all the time how to manage change, right, in their organization, in their business, in their gyms. And you all are doing the most important thing so well, which is change takes time for people to adjust to. And what you're doing is you're giving them lots of time to adjust before the change happens, right? The fact that you were talking about it a few months in advance, the fact that you let people do these pilot sessions, these test sessions, both your staff and your clients got a chance to see, okay, what is this change going to feel like once it gets here? Well, let's practice that. Let's get together and actually have a beta session, a practice session, so the team can practice doing the coaching and the clients can practice doing what it feels like to do the new thing. And then what you get, hopefully, in those test sessions is a bunch of your clients who are hopefully real super connectors in your community, real, like the go first people, right? And they go first, try it out, do the thing, and they go back and report good things to the rest of your community, right? That's how you make change happen with as little friction as possible. Because you all have had many, many months, if not years, to think about this. Your team and your clients are just thinking about it for the first time, right? Oh, we could fit two more people in here every hour. What would that be like? Well, you all have thought a lot about that, but they're just learning about it a few months before it's going to happen. But giving them that time to adjust and practice and try it on like a new pair of clothes. That's the reason why there's little try on booths when you go try on clothes, right? You have to try it first. How's this feel? And then when you go to buy it, you already know you're going to look and feel good in it, right? And so you all did that so well. So I just want to stop and just like give you applause because some people don't do that. They don't do that. They just rip the band-aid off and tell everyone we're doing this new thing in a few weeks, and they don't give them a chance to really try it on. I think that attributes that creates a lot of your success here. Yeah. What else? Anything else about the renovation of the space or any other bottlenecks that you closed up that you want to share?
I think uh, on a related topic, one thing that I had wanted to share was like uh, I certainly felt the temptation to plow ahead with the plan just in terms of logistics from here's when we need to do the renovation install, et cetera, and here's
Yep.
and um, but a part of the process did involve uh, our coaches
Mm-hmm.
expressing their feelings about it or their anxieties or worries.
Yeah.
Um, so this isn't exactly like relieving bottlenecks, but while you're talking through that, it occurred to me like I am quite pleased that they felt comfortable saying, "Hey, here's the thing we're worried about. Is there a
Yes.
way we can address this?"
Yes. Good for
Uh,
you. Good for you. I mean, the fact that you make space to to surface and discuss any team anxiety or tension is like just a critical role of leadership, right? So the fact that you all knew, hey, change is coming. It's going to be hard for our staff. We're going to be expecting new things of them. They might have some feelings about this. Let's make some space in a team meeting to talk about what are you worried about, right? And the fact that they were comfortable bringing that to you means you've created this really psychologically safe space where they can bring up things that are negative feelings.
Relatedly, I think it was because of all of this process. One thing that also really helped was uh, because I think that I think on some level, everyone knew it was like the owners are making this decision and we're just
Hmm.
the staff here. But because of the practice sessions, even by the time we got to doing them with members, our
Yeah.
coaches were already saying like, "Oh no, this is going to be fine," and they were
Yeah.
saying that around members, like, "Oh no,
Hmm.
it'll be fine.
Yep.
We've tried it. We're feeling really confident about it," and that also I think really helped to smooth it over because we're at the point now where Theresa and I are not interacting with everyone all the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's exactly it. I mean, your clients feel that energy. And if they went into the new thing with your team being also anxious about the new thing, the clients are going to be anxious about the new thing. Right? I'll just use a quick analogy. I went in for like a very minor medical procedure like 2 weeks ago. This is TMI on my own podcast here. It was very minor though, and I was a little nervous because I was ongoing under anesthesia. I never done that before, but the people in that space, all the nurses and doctors were so chill about it. It was like no big deal. They're just like chatting with me about the weather, and it was like no, they were so used to doing this. This was so not a big deal to them, right? And they acknowledged it was for me. I shared I was a little nervous, but that really helped me calm down. That really helped me process that in the moment change in this hospital. And the same thing is true for your team. If you want your team to be like the anchor of your clients' emotions and have them be really cool about the change, you got to give them time to get cool about the change. Right. And you all did that so well. So by the time the change actually comes, they're all really used to it and they can help your clients get used to it because you gave them a head start. Yeah. Anything you
oh,
would add to that,
another
Teresa? Oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think that sums it up, right?
Yeah.
Mike captured it really well, like uh, talking about it in advance, like in
Mm-hmm.
the December and January with the staff, whether it was the coaching staff or even the front desk staff, about like what to expect and how to handle things. That
Good.
by the time we were working in those practice sessions with members, yeah, like it was just really amazing to just watch. Mike and I didn't really have to say anything. Like this, the
Mm-hmm.
coaching team just said all the stuff, and we're like, great.
Fantastic. That's so great. Well, let me start to wrap things up because I know we're up to almost the end of our time. So, again, you have all seen some great growth in the last year or so. 30% increase in gross revenue, 3x your net profit. You've created great reputation by all the things we've been talking about. You've been building a great team. You've transitioned to small group personal training. Of all of that, I'll ask you each to answer this separately. What is kind of the one thing you've done in the last, 6 to 12 months you think has made the biggest difference to your overall satisfaction as an owner of the business? We'll start with you, Teresa.
Mm. Uh, I mean, I think I just come back to our hiring procedures
Yeah.
because the people we have are amazing. Like we're a nice little family and just it's a really great team. I go in every day and I'm just excited to work with those folks
Yep.
and um and then having conversations with members even saying like, "Oh, you have a really great team." I'm like, "I know we do, don't we?"
It's so satisfying, right? It's so satisfying when you can grow something that creates great jobs for other people, that's people that you get excited to go to work and spend time with yourself, right? That's so rewarding. Yeah, great answer. Great answer. What about you, Mike?
I kind of the same sort of thing in that I guess it is because of the the combination process, but there's certainly a part where we just lucked out and somehow attracted these incredible people. But uh, the sum total of all of that also means that it's kind of fun to be in a position now where I'm seeing, like, observing members developing great relationships and rapport with
Mhm.
people who are not me. the
Yeah.
first the first 2.5 years, it was like this the and this whole thing is Theresa and I managing it, like the relationships and interactions and customer experience, all of it. And that we're able to maintain that same sort of a thing, but without always needing direct input from the two of us,
Yep.
um, is is really cool, but also because it's also really nice not to be coaching 60 hours a week anymore. So
100%. Yeah. That's beautiful. I think that's so much of why we started this business in the first place is to, in part, make a big impact. And when you're trading your time for hours and you can only be on the floor 20, 30 plus hours per week, that's the limit of your impact. But when you can build a team and they can build relationships with your clients and your community, then you can expand your impact. And it just, it warms your heart to see those relationships being formed on a team that you've curated so thoughtfully. So congratulations to both of you. Like what a cool chapter you're in. And I'm just so excited to have a front row seat to this amazing show. So thanks for being on the podcast. If people want to learn
thanks for
more
having
about you both or Reimagine, where can they find you?
Oh, I mean, reimagine.com.
Uh-huh.
And also we're on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook uh, at, Reimagine as well, all of the same handles. So,
Love it. Awesome. We'll
yeah.
put that in the show notes as well for if anyone wants to go follow them, go follow them. But thanks you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'll have you on again
Thanks
soon,
for
I'm
having
sure.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.